Heyo, folks! Heyo. Welcome to this Friday morning in the United States. It's midday here, or 2 p.m. here, or on the other side of the planet. What is it? 8 p.m., 9 p.m., something of the sort in Australia. Wherever you are, whoever you are, welcome. Sorry. Today we are going to go through more of Colin Gray's hearings. Colin Gray is father of Colt Gray, the Apalachee High School shooter. And if you caught me and Dave a few days ago, we have our criticisms when it comes to charging parents of school shooters, mainly because where does it end? And also, what are these so-called obvious signs the prosecution claims they should have known? Unless they can show in any pre-trial hearing or anything that your son said to you that he was going to blow up this school. Why didn't you do anything? Okay, then we might have something. Maybe. But if there's no such communication proven from the prosecution or even shown by the prosecution, why are then the parent accessory to the kid's crime? Hence the title of these streams, Sins of the Son trial. So what I'm doing now is, since this is scheduled for September, and I'm preparing myself and my audience because I have another trial in September. I'm supposed to cover the Y&W Melly trial, retrial. But I'm not entirely sure it will actually happen in September. So with this trial, so at least I have coverage of both trials now, so we all learn about it. And then once we get to September, and I'm in the States at the time, I will be in Utah September 3rd to September 17th. If you want to have a meetup around Salt Lake City, I will be in Miami September 19th to 24th. We are going to have a meetup in Miami. Me, Steve Gosney, and a few others. We'll get to details where that meetup will be. But during my stay there, I need something to cover. So it's either Y&W Melly trial or the Sins of the Son trial. Whatever it will be. We don't know if any of them. It might be something completely different, but that's besides the point. I'm just covering my bases here. And also, this interests me because this is... I left that area of Apalachee High School. I more or less drove past it on my way from Atlanta up to Knoxville. I'm more or less past it. Maybe a couple of hours away. And so it happened just a few days after I drove past. So I do have some slight connection to it. So that is why this interests me. Plus, are we seeing the beginning of an epidemic of charging parents of criminals? Then what about inner city moms? Two gangbangers. Single mothers because the father took off or passed away. Are you going to charge her? So are we in the beginnings of an epidemic of charging parents of the kids' crimes? So that is also one of these things that makes this interesting, at least for me. Let's see who's here. Allison, Paulette, hello, Ace, and Judy, and all you others over at Rumble, and you guys at X. So let's get right into it. This is, to my knowledge, the first. It's a preliminary hearing, the first preliminary hearing. This took place, let's see, when was it? Dun, dun, dun. October 16th, so about a month after everything happened. And thank you to 11 Alive for hosting that stream, which we are now going to check out. So if you want to check those things out without my commentary, go right over to 11 Alive. Otherwise, please stick around, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and if you really, really like it here, become a member. It's $3 a month, and you will get members-only content. I'm speaking hundreds of hours of members only just for you. And access to my Discord and your own emojis here on YouTube. All right, let's check this out. I hope, yeah, the closed captions work. All right, let's go.
Good morning. Let me make sure everybody's present. So the prosecution is Brooks and Mr. Smith this morning. Yes, sir. Good morning to you, and you all are prepared to move forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then I have Mr. Hobbs and Mr. Byer. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Good morning to each of you.
Good morning.
And you all are prepared to
There, come on.
move forward this morning?
We are, Judge.
Okay. If we could bring Mr. Gray out, please. Good morning. Is it Colin or Colin Gray? Colin Gray.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is you, sir. All right, and Mr. Gray, is it your intent this morning to have Mr. Hobbs and Mr. Byer represent you in this hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, well, good morning. My name is Caroline Tyler Evans, and I am the Chief Magistrate Judge of Byer County. This is the preliminary hearing calendar for the Magistrate Court of Byer County, Georgia, held this 16th day of October, 2024. The hearing that we're holding today is called a preliminary hearing. They are not the trials of this case, and the results here do not necessarily determine whether the defendant in the case is found innocent or guilty at later trial. The purpose of the hearing is to conduct an inquiry into the defendant's case to find out whether or not there is probable cause justifying the issuance of a warrant or warrant.
This judge knows that this is a highly publicized case at the area because nobody explains this. This is something the lawyer explains to the client, and the judge simply has your lawyer explain to you what this hearing means. I mean, on my channel, I covered enough Judge Simpson, Judge Boyd, Judge McBurney, and other judges doing prelims. So yeah, this judge definitely knows that this is being publicized and streamed and everything, because no judge I've heard goes into this depth into explaining. But maybe that's what she does.
Further towards the trial of his case. Probable cause means, is there enough facts to cause a reasonable man to believe that the crime charged in the warrants against you were committed by you, or whether the warrant should be changed to reflect the crime, if any, the defendant actually committed, and it is misstated in the warrant. So Ms. Brooks and Mr. Smith, if we are ready to go, I will turn it over to you. I asked all the parties this morning, anytime you want to bring anything in the case, we ask that you use the podium. There is a recording going on, so if you would please just use the podium so that the microphone and the recording system can pick you up. Yes, sir. Are you Mr. Hobbs or Mr. Berry?
I'm Jim Berry.
Mr. Berry, yes,
I'm the
sir.
older of the two.
I got you. I'll write that down. How about that? Yes, sir.
I wanted to inquire, Judge, I have not seen Rule 22. I know there's a number of.
So in magistrate court, it's a Rule 11. We do have one that's been filed, and it is next door. I'll be happy to go get you a copy like that this morning.
As long as it has been filed, I trust the court.
It has been filed, yes, sir. Okay, thank you.
Judge.
Anything else? that
Yes,
we
Your
need
Honor,
to-
just
yes, sir.
based on that same issue, so these mics are cold, my understanding,
That is
and
correct.
that mic is hot.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Also, the flat microphone is for the recording system. So you see the flat microphone on the podium?
Yes, sir.
There's one at the witness desk, and there's one up here for me. They are, this right here. This is for the recording system itself. Is very sensitive, so just make sure that if you are speaking with your client this morning, you can either tell us to pause the recording so it does not pick that up, or just be aware that it's very sensitive, even if the one's up here, okay? Yes, and if you wanted to use those microphones just for audible reasons, that's certainly fine too, but those are covered.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Smith or Ms. Brooks, you want to call your first witness?
Yes, Your Honor, state calls Lucas Byer to the stand.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Judge.
He looks like a cop.
Could you raise your right hand, please? Swear the testimony you give in the matter now pending before this court with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay. Have a seat, please. And if you could introduce self-report.
My name is Special Agent Lucas Byer. I'm with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
Take your attention back to
Georgia Bureau of Investigation is not a federal thing. It's just a fancy name for more or less a state police.
September 4th of this year. Were you involved in an investigation involving a shooting in Apalachee High School?
Yes, sir, I was.
Tell us how you became involved in that.
On September 4th, in the morning, I was located at the the GBI's Athens Regional Office. We were notified of an active shooter situation at Apalachee High School, and myself and a number of other agents from the Athens Regional Office dispatched ourselves to the high school in order to assist, and we were ultimately tasked with the investigation.
As part of your investigation, were you able to look at surveillance video that was captured by the school surveillance system?
Yes, sir, I was.
And were you able to see all the video that pertained to Colt Gray arriving at the school up until the point he was apprehended?
Yes, sir. I was provided a number of video clips, and the video clips included footage from a school bus, hallway surveillance video footage, and also surveillance video footage from within classrooms.
And based on this footage, were you able to piece together Colt Gray's movements throughout from when he arrived at the school until he was apprehended?
Yes, sir, I was.
Were you able to, at that time, how did Colt arrive at the school?
Colt Gray arrived to the school via a Barrow County school bus. The school bus picked him up from his residence at approximately 7:46 a.m. on September the 4th, and he boarded the bus, and it transported him to Apalachee High School.
Okay. When he boarded the bus, did he have a firearm on him or with him?
It was not immediately obvious, but through other investigative acts that were conducted in the case, we did determine that he did have a firearm in his possession when he boarded the school bus.
How was it concealed when he boarded the school bus?
The firearm was located in his book bag. It was a rifle, so it was long, so it did not fit in his book bag entirely. We determined that the rifle was protruding out of his book bag, and that the part of the rifle that was protruding from the book bag was concealed with a rolled up poster board. And just by a quick glance, it appeared that Colt Gray was possibly transporting a school project.
And when he arrived at the school, where did he go?
After arriving at the school, Colt traveled to his first period class, which was in classroom number 1.515, and that was located on the G Hall of Apalachee High School. It took him maybe 2-3 minutes to travel to the classroom after getting off the bus. During that time, based on my review of the surveillance video, it did not look like he engaged with any other students, and he maintained control of the book bag the entire time.
When he was in the classroom, his first period classroom, did he leave the classroom at any point?
Yes, sir. He did leave the classroom at approximately 8:30 a.m. Colt Gray got up and spoke to the first period teacher, who we identified as Miss Suzanne Harris. It appeared that he asked to use the restroom. Surveillance video showed him exiting the classroom, traveling up G Hall, and then ultimately entering a student restroom that was located on G Hall. He was in the restroom for a few minutes, and then he returned to the classroom and appeared to continue with the lesson plan for the day.
Did he stay in the classroom for the remainder of first period?
Yes, sir, he did.
What happened when first period ended?
After first period, Colt Gray left the classroom with the book bag with the poster board still inserted in it in his possession. He then traveled through K Hall and ultimately turned onto J Hall, where his second period classroom was located. The second period classroom was identified as classroom number, classroom number 2.151. And the teacher of that classroom was identified as Miss Catherine Greer. It was a math class.
Okay. And what did he do once he arrived in the classroom?
Mr. Gray sat down at a desk, and he propped the book, or he placed the backpack on the floor, propped the poster board against the desk, and it appeared that he was preparing for class. He at one point before class actually started, he produced a black notebook or binder from his backpack, opened it and placed it on his desk, and then he sat there for several minutes on his phone. It wasn't clear if he was typing or texting or what he was doing on his phone, but he was actively using his phone.
Okay. How long did he stay in that classroom? I don't need the exact time period. When did he leave the classroom?
He left the classroom at approximately 9:54 a.m. So he was in the classroom for approximately 20 minutes or so before he left. Based on information obtained during the investigation, Mr. Gray asked the teacher, Ms. Greer, if he could leave the class in order to go see the counselor. She granted him permission to do that. He obtained.
Hey, folks, look at that. Christine got monetized. Yay! Congratulations to Christine. Now, after this stream, get over to her channel, watch everything she has have done, so she can start earning some money out of her channel. Yay, good for you, Christine. Good for you. Congratulations. I'm so happy for her.
A hall pass from the classroom, and then he departed the classroom.
Did he take anything with him when he left the classroom?
He took his book bag.
Did he leave anything in the classroom when he left?
Yes, sir. He left the black notebook that he had placed on the desk.
And was it still open?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. Before we follow Colt Gray, let's stay with that black notebook. Were you able to follow the video as far as to what happened to that black notebook?
Yes, sir. During my review of the in-classroom camera from that particular classroom, the notebook remained on the desk for an extended period of time. It remained open up until the point where a student that was seated next to Colt Gray closed the notebook and placed it on a whiteboard that was behind her. And the notebook remained in that position throughout the remainder of the day. While, of course, after the shooting occurred, while GBI crime scene agents were processing the scene, that notebook was recovered.
Okay. Now let's go back to Colt. So when Colt left the classroom at 9:54, is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
At 9:54, where did he go?
He went to a restroom, a student restroom located on J Hall.
Did he take the book bag with him?
Yes, sir, he did.
Okay. And were you able to determine what stall he went? I know not from camera video, but from other investigations later, were you able to determine what stall he went into?
Yes, sir. Of course, there were no cameras inside the restrooms, but upon a inspection of that restroom area, there were some items of evidence that were associated with Colt Gray inside the first stall within that restroom.
Okay. How long did Colt Gray remain in that restroom?
He remained.
I don't need you to do math on the stand. You'll tell us.
I appreciate that, sir. He exited the restroom at 10:21 a.m.
And what did he have with him when he exited at 10:21?
At the time that Colt Gray exited the J Hall restroom, he was wearing yellow gloves that he had not previously been wearing. The white poster board that had been inside the backpack was no longer there. He was carrying the backpack in his left hand. The white poster board was, he appeared to have it wrapped around his lower torso as if to conceal something.
Where did he go at that point?
Mr. Gray proceeded to return back to his second period classroom, which was classroom 2.151.
What happened when you arrived there?
The door to the classroom was secured. Based on video footage, it appeared that Mr. Gray stood outside of the classroom door for approximately a minute. At some point, I should note that none of the video that I reviewed had any audio associated with it. But based off the reaction of students in the classroom, it looked like Mr. Gray may have knocked on the door. A student stood up and appeared to be preparing to open the door. She observed Colt through the door's window. In her reaction, she backed away from the door. She put her hand over her mouth, and she appeared to get the attention of Miss Greer, who also went to the window, observed Mr. Gray, and immediately told students to get into the corner of the classroom. Miss Greer then took control of a badge that she was wearing and pushed a button that initiated a lockdown procedure.
Okay. What did Mr. Colt Gray do at that point?
Colt Gray moved to his left and went to the door of classroom 2.152, which was identified as Miss Cassie Ryan's classroom. He entered that classroom and proceeded to fire the rifle into that classroom.
Did he fire it one time or multiple times?
He fired multiple times.
Okay. Were you able to tell about how many times or from the video?
No, sir. Once Colt Gray started discharging the rifle, there was a lot of dust and debris that obscured some of the camera footage. So I was not able to determine based off that video how many times he discharged the rifle, but it was clear and obvious that he did discharge the rifle multiple times.
Were people in that classroom struck?
Yes, sir.
Do you know about how many?
I believe it was 6 or 7 individuals were injured in that classroom.
And was anyone killed in that classroom?
Yes, sir. Student Christian Angulo was killed in that classroom.
Okay. How long was the Colt in the classroom? And again, I don't need you to do math. You'll just tell us about what time he left the classroom.
His actions in that classroom were approximately 7 seconds.
Okay. And what did he do when he left that classroom?
He backed out of the classroom and he proceeded to run down J Hall in the direction that he had originally come from the bathroom. So he ran back towards the in the general direction of the bathrooms. While he was running, video footage showed him in possession of the rifle, carrying it, and at approximately 11:29, or excuse me, 11. Correction, let me start that over. At approximately 10:22 a.m. And 29 seconds, the video depicted Colt shouldering the rifle, aiming it, and discharging several rounds. And those rounds impacted teacher Christina Ermy.
Was she struck?
Yes, sir, she was.
And did she die from her injuries?
Yes, sir, she did.
Okay. What happened at that point with Colt?
Almost immediately after firing at Miss Ermy, Colt turned his attention down I Hall.
Did he go down I Hall, or did he just turn his attention that way?
He just turned his attention that way. He did not access I Hall. I Hall and J Hall intersect. And when he reached that intersection, after firing at Miss Ermy, he turned his body and the rifle towards I Hall, but he did not travel down I Hall.
Okay. What did he do when he turned his attention down I Hall?
He observed.
Now, if you wonder, what does this have to do with the father, Colin Gray? Well, in order for the prosecution to charge the father with accessory to the crimes of the son, they have to show the son committed these crimes. So they has the testimony, and yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal, and I assume this was used against Colt Gray, but this is regarding the trial of Colin, the dad.
Coach Aspinwall and Coach Phoenix, and video depicted him discharging multiple rounds towards the coaches.
Were they struck?
Yes, sir, they were both struck.
And then Coach Aspinwall, was he killed by his injuries?
Yes, sir, he was.
And was Coach Phoenix killed?
Coach Phoenix was not killed. He was severely wounded.
What happened with Colt at that point?
Colt continued traveling down. He turned his attention back down J Hall. Video footage appeared to show him searching for more targets or trying to access other classrooms. He didn't pull on any door handles. I believe he was just looking for open classroom doors. Once he reached the end of J Hall, he stopped and turned around. And it was that point that another student exited the restrooms.
Who was that student?
That was student Mason Schermerhorn. Colt Gray was positioned behind Mason at a distance. Mason did not see Colt initially, and the video footage depicted Colt again shouldering the rifle, aiming, and discharging multiple rounds at Mason Schermerhorn.
Okay. What did Colt do at that point?
Shortly after.
I'm sorry. Did Mason Schermerhorn, was he struck by the?
Yes, sir, he was.
And was he killed by the action of Colt?
Yes, sir, he was.
Okay. What did Colt do at that point?
At that point, within a matter of 2 or 3 seconds, 2 Barrow County Sheriff's Office school resource officers entered J Hall. They had their weapons drawn and aimed at Colt, and it appeared that they were issuing verbal commands. Colt placed the rifle on the ground. He raised his hands, ultimately laid down on the ground, and surrendered himself to the school resource officers, who were able to take him into custody.
Okay. And was the firearm taken into custody at that point?
Not at that point. It remained.
So all of it happened in a matter of, as it seems, 3 to 5 minutes.
Where he dropped it, and the firearm was ultimately recovered by GBI crime scene agents during the processing of the scene.
And what kind of firearm was that?
It was a black in color SIG Sauer SIG M400 rifle. There was 1 magazine loaded in the rifle, which was found to contain 18 rounds, and there was also 1 round in the chamber of the rifle at the time of recovery.
What was the capacity of that magazine?
The capacity of that particular magazine was 60 rounds.
Okay. Were there other magazines found in Colt Gray's possession?
Yes, sir. There were an additional 3 magazines located in his possession, one of which was a 30-round capacity magazine, and there were additional 60-round capacity magazines in his possession.
And what type of ammunition was used in this attack?
Based on crime scene examinations, the ammunition was all 5.56 or 223 ammunition. Most of it appeared to be Winchester branded ammunition.
I want to take your attention back to the notebook that Colt had left in the classroom. Could you basically describe Was that notebook, I think you said earlier, recovered by crime scene specialist with GBI?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
And were you able to see what was inside that notebook?
Yes, sir. What was inside the notebook appeared to be writings and drawings from Mr. Gray.
Okay. And what were those writings and drawings?
There were various writings. There was a 2-page section in the notebook that appeared to be a written plan of how to execute the shooting. There were also various sketches that appeared to depict Miss Greer's classroom.
And was that sketch accurate with what you saw as the layout of her classroom?
Yes, sir, it was. There were also some additional writings where it appeared that Mr. Gray was estimating possible casualty counts.
Okay. And you could describe, you say there was one, the detailed planning of it?
Yes, sir.
You could describe that to us.
Would you like me to read it, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, this is a quote from the pages that were in Mr. Gray's notebook. Second, walk from first to the bathroom. So I'll set my bag down, open it, put on a vest, take a moment or two to stay calm and really think about if I want to do this. Take out the poster covering the rifle. Take out rifle and prop it against the stall. Vest should be on at this point. Get out gloves, put them on. They're in your backpack. Clap a few times to make sure they're on tight. Once done, zip up backpack. Check mag slots in vest. At this point, there's a diagram that's drawn depicting the rifle magazines. Next page. Onto the thing. Wait a bit. Make sure no one was walking in or out of the bathroom. Gloves should be on. Take out your 60 rounder and put it in and chamber around. Okay. Turn on your red dot. Aim down at the floor. Make sure your sight is on. Check your vest and make sure it's on tight.
Oh.
Once done, check stock to make sure it's in your preferred setting. Put on hat. Make sure hair is out of your face. Set backpack to the side. Pick up rifle with right hand. Open stall door with left. Don't shoot anyone in the bathroom. You'll alert people.
Wow. This is heavy.
You said that he had an estimate on casualties.
Yes, sir.
What was that?
There was a page in the notebook identified. Excuse me. The top of the page is labeled hallway and classroom. In the hallway column, it's written, I'm thinking 3 to 4 people killed, injured, ? 4 to 5. Under the classroom column is written 15 to 17 killed, injured, ? 2 to 3. Further down the page is written classroom 2, 3 to 5 killed, injured, 2 to 3. And in parentheses off to the side, it says, surprised if I make it this far.
And this was all in the notebook that was found in the classroom that he had left when he went to the bathroom.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
I want to take your attention now to another part of your investigation. Did you interview a Lisa Butler, who was a counselor at the Apalachee High School?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. When was it that you interviewed her?
Interviewed her on September the 4th at approximately 4:30 p.m. Myself and Special Agent Ashley Isaacson conducted that interview with Miss Butler.
And what was her job and duties, and what was her role at the school?
Miss Butler told us that she was a school counselor for Apalachee High School, and that she was also Colt Gray's assigned school counselor.
Okay. And prior to September 4th, did she have any interactions with Colt Gray?
Yes, sir, she did. She described having had 2 prior encounters with Colt Gray. The first one was during the week of August the 5th, and that was when Colt and Mr. Colin Gray came to Apalachee High School in order to enroll Colt in the school.
Okay. And did anything happen on that day out of the ordinary?
Nothing out of the ordinary, no, sir.
Okay. And that was Colin Gray. Who was Colin Gray to Colt Gray?
That was his father, sir.
Okay. And did she have the second time she had an interaction with Colt Gray?
Ms. Butler described having a second interaction with Colt Gray, possibly August the 14th. She advised that Colt came to her office and expressed that he was suffering a severe anxiety attack. A Apalachee High School staff member had escorted Colt to her office and mentioned at that time that Colt had made comments that showed possible suicidal ideations. Ms. Butler told us that while Colt was in her office speaking with her, he was shaking and rocking back and forth uncontrollably. Ms. Butler stated that she spoke with Colt Gray, asked him if he had any intent to harm himself. He denied that, but she was also unable to get him calmed down. And Ms. Butler assessed at that time that Colt was not suitable to continue with classes on that particular day due to his condition.
What did she do at that point?
At that time, Ms. Butler tried to call, she advised that she tried to call Colin Gray, but he did not answer her phone call. Ms. Butler then requested Colt Gray to call his father using his cell phone. And Mr. Colin Gray did answer that call. Ms. Butler stated that she spoke with Colin Gray, informed him of Colt's condition, what he was experiencing and what she was observing. And she requested Mr. Colin Gray to come pick Colt up from school. Ms. Butler advised that Colin informed her that he would not be picking Colt up from school. He was working. And she mentioned that he stated that he was stuck on I-85 at that time. He further advised that there were no other family members that could come get him.
Did she express to Colin Gray Colt Gray's state and what he'd been going through?
Yes, sir. Ms. Butler told us that she did describe Colt Gray's state to Colin, advised him of the anxiety attack and what her observations were in that moment and how she did not feel that he was suitable to continue classes.
Did Colin Gray ever come to pick up Colt Gray?
No, sir.
On that day?
No, sir. Colt ultimately was able to calm down, and according to Ms. Butler, at approximately 2:30 that afternoon, he was returned to class.
Okay. I want to take you to September 4th. Did she receive any calls that day from Colin Gray about his son?
From Colin Gray, sir?
Yes, sir.
Not that she described to me, no, sir.
So he never called the school on that day to her?
Not that I'm aware of, no, sir.
And did she receive a call from Marcy Gray?
Yes, sir. She described receiving a phone call from Marcy Gray at approximately 9:50 a.m. Marcy Gray was identified as Colt Gray's mother. And Ms. Butler described to me that Marcy
is the mother who locked her kids out of the house in November, and they had to stay outside until 11 p.m. before she let them back in. Yeah. So if they're going to use Marcy Gray as some kind of a character witness, yeah, it will be interesting to learn more about why Colin was. I believe the kids had more. That Colin had more time with his dad from that encounter back in 2021, I believe it was. So, as it appears, I might be wrong, is that Colin had primary custody over the mother, which speaks a lot in U.S. Family law situations when a mother is more or less not the primary custodian. So I remember Dave said it in my last stream about this case, that it might be a situation where the mother screwed up the kids and now Colin is being charged.
Expressed concern for Colt, and that Colt had texted something to her that day that led Marcy to believe that something bad was imminent. She wasn't sure what it was, but she also told Miss Butler that Colt had a fascination with school shooters and school shootings. And Marcy further advised Miss Butler that Colt did have the means and access to firearms through his household.
Okay. And how did he receive those through his household?
I'm sorry, sir.
How did Colt have access through his household to firearms?
I did not personally go to Colt's house.
Did Marcy say anything about it?
Marcy said that Marcy told Miss Butler that Colin Gray owned several firearms and that they were located in the house.
Just a second, please.
Let's see here. Gigi, hello. Do you think other parents from previous school viewings will get charged since there is no statute of limitations on the living? Yeah. The trial last year in Michigan against what was it? Crowley parents, and now this one. Yeah, we might be in the beginnings of an epidemic of charging the parents of criminals for accessory to the crimes. So, yeah, I think we will hear Crumbly. Thank you, Crumbly, the Crumblies. So, yeah, I think we will hear a lot more. If this case is also successful for the state, I believe that more will follow, more states will follow, and more trials in these states that have multiple school shootings.
Follow question I had,
Karen?
All right, that was the prosecution. Now it is time for the defense to ask questions.
Good morning, sir.
And how long have you been a special agent?
Coming up on 5 years, sir.
Okay. And were you in law enforcement prior to the time that you went with the GBI?
I was a probation and parole officer with the Department of Community Supervision prior to my employment with the GBI.
Okay. And as I understand, in the investigation of this case, two primary things that you did, assume you went to the school.
Yes, sir.
And observed the area there at the school and spoke with Ms. Butler. Is that correct?
Those are some of the things that I did. Yes, sir. I did conduct other interviews as well.
Okay, and tell us the other interviews that you conducted.
I spoke with Assistant Principal D. Martin. I spoke with Ms. Butler. I spoke with Ms. Greer.
I'm sorry, Ms. Greer?
Yes, sir. The Colt Gray second period teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke with Ms. Ryan. I spoke with Miss Valerie Lancaster. And I also spoke with Miss Suzanne Harris, who was Colt Gray's first period teacher.
And I assume that all of these interviews were recorded?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and those have been turned over to the district attorney's office?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Other than those interviews, is there any other interviews that you've conducted?
Not personally, no, sir.
Okay. Is there any other thing that you have done in this case since you completed your last interview?
Since I've completed my last interview, I conducted the video review. So the review of all the surveillance video that I obtained. I assisted in facilitating transport of certain items of evidence, including cell phones, in order to get those extracted. And and I've participated in a number of other things. It wasn't just the interviews and the video review. There were several other things that I participated in.
Okay. Are you the actual case agent in this case? Are you going to be classified as the case agent? Or?
No, sir, I'm not the case agent. I assisted the case agent with this investigation.
Okay. And you indicated that you assisted in collecting cell phones. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And whose cell phones did you collect?
One of the cell phones was the property of Colt Gray. That cell phone was actually physically collected by GBI crime scene personnel.
Mm-hmm.
That phone was subsequently turned over to me, and I transported it to the Byer County Sheriff's Office in order to have it extracted.
Okay.
Upon completion of the extraction, that cell phone was placed into evidence at the Athens Regional or GBI Athens Regional Office.
Okay. And did you do anything from the standpoint of reviewing what was extracted from the telephone?
No, sir. The Barrow County Sheriff's Office conducted the review of the extracted data.
Okay, so you have not been made aware of what was on that phone?
Not in complete detail, no, sir.
All right.
Only through conversation.
And was that the only cell phone that you're aware of that was confiscated in this investigation?
There were other phones that were confiscated. At the time that I transported Colt's cell phone to the sheriff's office, I also was provided with Colin Gray's cell phone, and the procedures for that were the same. I brought it to the sheriff's office in order to facilitate the extraction of that device. Upon completion, it was also placed into evidence at the GBI Athens Regional Office, and similarly, I have not reviewed full contents of that phone.
And were you instrumental in obtaining a search warrant for the search of that phone?
Another special agent obtained the search warrant for Colt Gray's cell phone, and Colin Gray's cell phone was obtained through consent.
Through consent. Okay. Now, did you have an occasion to talk with Colin Gray at any time?
No, sir, I have not spoken with Mr. Colin Gray.
And you never went to his residence?
That's correct.
Do you know whether or not his truck was searched?
I am not aware, sir.
I just have a few questions. I'm not going to belabor it. But you had indicated that Colt was texting on the telephone somewhere between first period and second period. Is that correct?
There were multiple occasions throughout that morning where he appeared to be texting, or at least engaged with his phone, starting from the time that he got onto the school bus through various points during the first period class, and also at some points while he was in the second period classroom.
And through your extraction, did you find out who he had been texting during that time period?
I did not personally review the extractions in order to obtain that information. I was verbally informed who it was believed that he was texting.
Okay, and who did you get that verbal indication from?
Investigators with the sheriff's office.
Okay, do you remember who that may have been?
That would be investigator Jason Smith.
Okay. And reviewing the video, you told us you observed Colt with the backpack and with this cardboard wrapped around would have been wrapped around the barrel, I assume, of the weapon.
Yes, sir.
And when he left the first time, left the classroom, and he left the backpack, was the gun still there?
Presumably, yes, sir. The backpack remained in the first period classroom, and the protruding poster board was still there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the poster board and its contents were propped against the table that Colt Gray was seated at.
Okay. So the backpack had been left in the classroom while he was gone.
That's correct.
And then he took the backpack the second time that he left.
Yes, sir.
That's when he went to the bathroom, I'm assuming.
Yes, sir.
All right. When you spoke with Ms. Butler, did she indicate that she had any other conversations or attempted conversations with Colin Gray or Marcy Gray from August the 14th on?
She indicated that she had communicated with Colin Gray previously in reference to Colt, and that she had tried to offer counseling resources, and she had provided forms in physical and electronic copies to authorize Colt to participate in counseling. She specifically mentioned a program. I can't recall the name of it at this time, but I do recall that she mentioned a program where a counselor could come to the school and meet with Colt. She also mentioned that Colin Gray had expressed some concerns about being able to pay for counseling. Those, best of my memory, those are some of the conversations that she had with Colin Gray.
Okay. And do you know whether the documentation of that, the paperwork for that was ever located?
Not by me. I'm not sure, sir.
All right. Let me just ask you a couple of questions about this weapon. You indicated that it was an M400 rifle.
Yes, sir.
And tell us exactly what an M400 rifle is.
I'm not personally familiar with Sig Sauer rifles, having never personally handled one, but based off of the photos that I've seen, based off seeing it at the crime scene itself, it appears to be an AR-15 platform rifle, semi-automatic, magazine-fed rifle, black in color.
All right. Well, it was about 54 years ago when I was in the military, so I don't know much about the guns today. But you said it was a semi-automatic, not an automatic.
Correct.
Okay. And I'm not going to, since you're not an expert, I'm not going to ask you the difference, but that's what you understood, that it was semi-automatic, correct?
Yes, sir.
The black notebook, which we've had an opportunity to take a look at, do you know when those notations were made? When Colt was interviewed, did he make any indication or give any indication as to when that was written?
Not that I'm aware of, sir. In reviewing the notebook, I didn't see anything specifically indicating dates or times when any of these notations were made.
Okay, so it could have been made the night before, that morning. Really don't know at this point, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else, Mr. Smith?
No, Your Honor. Ask to be excused.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
State calls Agent Kelsey Ward.
For fuck's sake. No, in a courtroom wearing sunglasses, unless you are medically blind, take those fucking thing off. That is so disrespectful. Jesus Christ, this is a court of law, not a nightclub. Is this the dad of somebody? I don't know.
Say her name one more time for me.
Kelsey Ward, Kelseward.
Thank you.
Like, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
Can you introduce yourself to the court?
Yes, I'm Special Agent Kelsey Ward. I am a GBI agent at the Regional 11 Field Office in Athens, Georgia.
And does that office cover Byer County?
It does.
Hi, Derek.
In your capacity as a special agent there, did you become involved in an investigation to the Apalachee High School shooting?
I did.
And how did you become involved in that?
I received a text message from my supervisor as I was returning to the office that morning from another case I was working on. And when I pulled in the parking lot, I observed the other agents at that office donning their gear and leaving the parking lot, at which point I was informed that there had been a shooting and that we were all en route to the location of the high school.
In or as part of your investigation, did you create a timeline of events leading up to the September 4th shooting?
I did.
And at this time, I'd like to go through that timeline with you. Can we start with May 21st of 2023? What happened on that day?
On May 21st, 2023, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office made contact with Colt and Colin Gray at their residence in Jackson County in reference to an FBI tip that had come in to their office about some school-related shooting threats that had been made on the app Discord.
Oh, they were talking about that visit. This is regarding the Discord communication, is that allegedly these were made by Colt. To my understanding, it was never actually proven it was Colt who did them. And the FBI agents who conducted the interview with Colin and Colt found no probable cause to do anything.
And what was the discussion, I guess, with Colin about the nature of the tip and what the reason that the sheriff's office was there?
When the deputies arrived at their residence, Colin came to the door alone. The deputies asked him to come outside to speak with them, which he did. They had a general conversation about the children that he had who was living at the home at the time. He stated that his oldest son, Colt, was living at the residence with him. They discussed if there were firearms in the residence, to which he said there were. They asked if those firearms were loaded. He said they were not loaded at the residence. They asked if Colt had access to those firearms. He said he did. Colin stated that Colt did have access to them. They discussed some previous bullying that Colt had experienced at schools he had attended in the past, and some other anxiety that Colt had experienced.
What happened at that point?
At that point, they asked if they could specifically speak to Colt. Colin agreed and returned inside the residence to retrieve his son. Colt came outside, and the deputies asked him, "Did you say that?"
And when he said, "Did you say that?" what were they referring to?
Colt indicated that his dad had somewhat briefed him inside the residence about what the deputies were at their home to discuss. They didn't really provide Colt with any specific background about what they were there for. They just asked, "Did you say it?" To which he said he believed they might have misunderstood. They asked him if he had a Discord account. He paused, looked at the ground, and stated he did, but it had been deleted, and he had not had it when they had been at that current residence.
And at that point, did they leave, or was there any other discussion?
There was a very brief discussion about the bullying he had experienced in the past. They stated they were going to take his word for the fact that he did not say anything about school shootings at that time. And then the conversation with him concluded, and they left the scene.
Now drawing your attention to October of 2023, was the Department of Family and Child Services involved with the Gray family?
They were.
And so in October of 2023, did they have an open case with them?
They did.
At that time, did Colin provide any information to DFACS about counseling?
He did. Colin stated that all of his children were in counseling at the Barrow Ministry Village. That has been checked into, and Barrow Ministry Village does not have any record of those children attending any counseling.
Okay, and that would be including Colt?
That's correct.
Now, moving to November 17th of 2023, what happened on that day?
On that day, Colin purchased Colt a firearm from Mike's gun room. That is a M400 Sig Sauer automatic rifle.
And you said it was purchased by Colin for Colt.
That is correct.
And what was the occasion?
He stated that he was purchasing as a Christmas gift for his son. It was to be a replacement weapon for a firearm he had previously purchased for Colt earlier that year as a hunting weapon. Colt did not like the way that that firearm had shot, and so his dad took it back to the store and then later purchased that Sig Sauer firearm in November.
And that Christmas present that was for Colt, was that the weapon that Colt Gray used in the shooting?
It was that weapon.
Moving to December 19th of 2023, what happened on that day?
On December 19th, 2023, Colin ordered a laser sight for Colt's automatic rifle from Amazon.
And then
For the record, in Georgia, all of these things are legal. All of it.
moving to June 10th of 2024, what happened that day?
Colin ordered Colt a tactical vest from Amazon.
Now that
Are
is
you
strange.
familiar with the kind of
That is strange. I have to admit, if they are solely for hunting reasons, there is absolutely zero use for a vest.
plan that Colt had written out about the school shooting?
I am.
Was his plan to wear that vest?
Yes, we do know from detailed notebooks that he had written in about his plan for the shooting that he had intended on wearing that vest.
Moving to August 11th of 2024, what happened that day?
On August 11th, 2024, Colt texted Colin, his father, to stop by Academy Sports, an outdoor store, and to pick him up 150 rounds of 5.56 or .223 ammunition.
And is that the type of ammunition that is used in that Sig Sauer rifle that he had purchased?
It is.
And then August 15th of 2024, what happened that day?
Colt asked his dad to buy him a Apalachee bore sight in a text message.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
A Apalachee bore sight to go on the firearm. Colt asked his dad to buy that for him in a text message.
The day that Colt asked his dad to buy him that, had Colt been in a fight with his mother that day?
Yes, he had been in a fight with his mom on that date.
And what was the fight about?
It was about his possession of his firearm and having weapons available to him. They had gotten in an argument over it.
And did his mother want Colt and Colin to put the weapons up?
She did. She had indicated to both of them that she wanted the weapons locked away so they were not accessible.
Okay. And so after that fight, is that when Colt asked his father to buy him something for that gun?
He did, yes.
And then the next day after August 15th, on August 16th, did Colin order that bore sight from Amazon for Colt?
He did. He ordered the Apalachee bore sight from Amazon the next day on August 16th.
Okay. I'm going to draw your attention to August 18th of 2024. What did Colin Gray do on that day?
On August 18th, he sent a submission form to the Enlightenment Counseling.
Okay. I'm going to show you this. Can you read what that submission form stated?
Yes, I can. So Colin emailed the Enlightenment contact. He stated, "I am a working dad of 3. Colt is my oldest, 14 years old. We have had a very difficult past couple of years and he needs help. Anger, anxiety, quick to be volatile. I don't know what to do. I have United Healthcare. Can you help? Thanks."
And that was August 18th.
That was.
Now I'm going to show you another contact from Enlightenment on August 21st. Did Enlightenment follow up with Colin?
They did.
And what did they tell him or ask him?
They stated, "Hi, Mr. Gray. I hope that you are doing well. I wanted to follow up and let you know that I tried to call you to touch base on Friday and left a message for you today as well. If you could please call me back when you have a moment to discuss details and get services started for Colt. Sincerely, Enlightenment Counseling."
And did it appear that Colin had followed back up with them?
No, he did not.
Moving to August 26th of 2024, what happened that day?
Okay, I was stuck on the tactical vest thing. So I thought to myself, okay, what's going on? Is that a bulletproof? But no, it's a vest with a lot of pockets. Can they be bulletproof? Yeah. But we haven't seen. Let's see here. No, there's no. So far, I don't find any pictures of Colt in the tactical vest. So if it's just a vest that is with a lot of pockets, then yeah, then I see why it's for hunting. If it is a tactical vest that is also bulletproof, then we might be into something. But I think they call it tactical vest just because it sounds worse.
One of the counselors at the high school, Lisa Butler, actually sent Colin via email a form to fill out for the AWARE counseling. Colin did complete that form.
And did Colin Gray do anything else that day?
He also ordered a unisex half mask for Colt. On that same day, we also know that Colt spoke to his grandmother, Deborah Polhamus, via phone about the Parkland shooter and asked her, if something terrible happened to me or I did something terrible, would you still love me?
And as far as that mask, was there any indication that Colt had also intended to use that mask in his?
Yes,
plan?
there was. That was also in his detailed plan.
Going to August 27th of 2024, what happened that day?
On August 27th, at approximately 2:02 p.m., 3 calls were made by Deborah Polhamus, that's Colt's grandmother, to the Advantage Mental Health Clinic in Athens, Georgia. Deborah, the phone was answered by clinic staff who helped determine who would be best to speak to her on the phone. She was transferred a couple of times to different employees, who then the last employee answered her questions. She told Advantage that Colt was having intrusive thoughts about hurting himself. The Advantage clinic stated that they would have to have a parent come with Colt to the clinic, but that he could come any day. Best day for him to come would be Saturday, August 31st. And they were told to just walk right into the clinic. There was no need for an appointment, but as I stated, the parent must be present.
Did anything else happen on August 27th at school?
Yes, Colt actually had an anxiety attack that day at school. He was taken to the counselor's office where he remained for the rest of the school day. Colin was actually called by personnel in the high school's counseling office, and he refused to pick up his son because of work.
The next 2 days, August 28th.
Georgia is, I believe it is. Let's see here. Yeah, Georgia is a right to work state, meaning you can get fired on the spot. And Colin trying to provide for 3 children. In hindsight, yeah, he should have picked him up. Also, he might have gotten fired if he left work. Just a parenthesis here.
28th and 29th, were those school days?
They were.
And did Colt attend school?
He did not. He skipped school both of those days.
And then August 30th, was that a holiday?
It was a holiday, so he did not, of course, attend school that day either.
And you indicated that on August 31st was the date that they were intending on taking Colt to Advantage Behavioral.
That's correct.
Did you have a discussion with Colt's mother, Marcy Gray, about that specific instance?
I did.
What was the plan?
The plan was that due to the fact that she had a warrant out of Byer County at the time, Colin was going to pick her up in his vehicle in Macon, Georgia, and they were going to go to Athens together to take Colt to Advantage. That was the plan that had been discussed for that Saturday. She informed me that the night before, so that would have been Friday the 30th, she spoke with Colin over the phone. They got into an argument over whether or not the firearms at Colin's residence had been secured, which she had been informed by another child had not been secured. Due to that argument, she stated that Colin did not pick her up in Macon the next day, and in return, Colt was not taken to Advantage. Marcy stated that Colin stated he could not pick her up due to not having money for gas.
Now, moving to September 2nd, 2024, was that also a school?
So the mother, yeah, it will be interesting to see if this goes to trial, this case, if the mother takes the stand, because everything she did to the kids will be brought up. Everything. And the one occasion I'm aware of is when she locked the kids out. At the time, Colt was 11. His siblings were younger, and she locked them outside in Appalachian cold until 11 p.m. at night. So not exactly Mother of the Year.
School holiday?
That's correct. There was no school that day.
And was September 3rd a school day?
It was.
Did Colt attend school that day?
He did not. He skipped school again that Tuesday.
Now moving to September 4th, the date of the shooting, around 8:30 in the morning, did Colt text his father, Colin?
He did.
And what did he say?
He sent his dad a text that stated, "I will text you in about an hour. It's important. Please answer when I do."
Were there any follow-up texts from Colt to his father?
There were at 9:42 a.m. Colt texted Colin again. He stated, "I'm sorry. It's not your fault. No, I love you and Jenny and Coley. You're not to blame for any of it."
And did Colt also text his mother?
He did.
And around when did he text her?
He texted her at approximately 9:50 a.m.
And what did he say to her?
"I'm sorry."
What happened after Marcy received that text?
Marcy called the school at approximately 9:50. She was on the line with them for approximately 8 minutes and 29 seconds. During that call, she spoke with Lisa Butler. She explained that she, Marcy, and Colin had received some very concerning text messages from Colt. And she wanted the school to put hands on him immediately and determine where he was inside the building.
Okay. And while Marcy called the school, did Colin also call the school?
He did not.
Now, what approximate time did the school shooting begin?
The school shooting started at approximately 10:22 a.m.
Now, moving to Colin Gray's home, was a search warrant conducted at his home?
It was.
Is that home, where is that home located? I guess in Byer County.
It's in Byer County.
What day was that search warrant completed?
It was completed the afternoon of September 4th, which was the day of the incident at Apalachee High School.
Were guns located in the home?
There were.
And approximately how many guns?
There was an AR-15 located in the home. There was a black and color shotgun located in the home. There was one black Glock located in Colin's vehicle. And then there was one black BB gun that looked like a real gun located in the kitchen. And then later, I actually received a text message from Marcy indicating that when she had returned to the house later that day after the search warrant was complete, she had located a tan and color handgun in the floor of Colin's bedroom.
So a grand total of 4 guns. Folks, 4 guns in an Appalachian household is, that's not saying gun nut to me.
As far as the assault rifle and the shotgun, where were those located?
The shotgun and the rifle were located in the top of the closet in the bedroom that Colin and Coley, his youngest son, shared.
And how old is Colin?
He is 8 years old.
And were the guns secured in any way?
They were not.
And whose guns were those?
Those belonged to Colin.
Was anything else at the top of the closet?
There was also ammunition as well as multiple magazines that could have been used in that firearm as well as other firearms.
All right, let's get to part 3.
To the ammunition that was found in Mr. Gray's closet, did y'all locate any other ammunition in the house?
Yes, ammunition was located in multiple rooms inside the residence, including Colt's room, which was also the laundry room. There was a green tin of ammunition, mixed caliber ammunition. There was a plastic bin inside Colt's room that also had loose ammunition inside of it. There was ammunition found in the cabinets in the bathroom that the family shared, as well as in a lab style mask that was located in Coley and Colin's bedroom as well.
And we're going to go into more depth with the interview you did with Colin Gray, but in that interview, did he talk about that green tin that you said y'all found in Colt's room?
He did. He indicated that he believed it was in the garage of the residence.
And did he indicate what was kept in that green tin?
Yes, he stated that the ammunition was all kept in that green tin.
Were there any writings of Colt Gray's that were found in the house that were concerning?
There were.
I'm going to show you. A couple of them. If you could just describe, or if you want to read what the writings were and kind of approximately where they were located.
Yes. So these were found in Colt's bedroom. This is a crumpled up piece of notebook paper. It says, fuck this life of mine. It appears that he's kind of talking to himself while he's writing. He says, yeah, that was good. So yeah, I hate this life. Anyways, I'm just about to my breaking point. I am, and then he does a list, depressed, eager to die, horny, delirious, and then he spells something that doesn't spell a word. He also says, well, yeah, that's about it. Nothing else here. We also found a letter that he had written that he left in the gaming room where he kept his computer. It says, just know it's not your fault. You tried your hardest, not only for me, but for Jenny and Coley. Forgive me. As for what I've done, it's out of my control. Know that I love y'all. See ya. We also located during the execution of the search warrant.
All right. Horny and delirious. Yeah, that is what I call my balls. So this is such a heavy subject, and my defense mechanism is bad humor. Yeah, this is really, really heavy. But it also, through what he's writing there, is that he's telling his father or and his mother that they are not at fault for this, which should be taken into account, but I'm quite sure it won't be. This is a rough one because it's the Appalachians. People hunt. People teaches their kids to hunt. It's a part of the lifestyle in the Appalachians. Should the dad have been more eager to take Colt to therapy sessions? Probably, but not because he thought, oh, otherwise he will go school shooting. But if your kid is experiencing mental health issues, get them there. But is this the supposed big sign? The big revelation that the dad should have had? Do you have any idea how many kids out there are having more or less the exact same thoughts as Colt did and never do anything? Regardless of how we think about school shootings and the kids doing them, there's about 1 million kids aged 10 to 17 in the United States, I think. And even with 20 school shootings a year, that is still 20 out of 1 million. And say that 10%, 100,000 kids have bad thoughts. Then you have 20 out of 100,000. And parents can be in denial because of mental health. And so I'm not excusing Colt here for anything. At 14, you know right from wrong. But the dad? Yeah, I'm having a very, very hard time seeing why he is being charged. He did what a normal Appalachian parent does. Teaches the kid to hunt. Legal weapons. Legal accessories. I mean, if this is such a huge red flag that every parent who does this should have their kids committed, yeah, that's 100,000 kids committed.
A notebook in Colt's bedroom. It had pretty detailed drawings of a stick figure that he had labeled you, so him. It then says, shoot the teacher first. There's another stick figure with a bullet going through their body. It says gut shot. There's then pictures of 2 stick figures, students. It then says the students next with an exclamation point next to their desks. It then shows what I believe he's indicating is a deceased stick figure lying on the ground. Him again wearing his hat with the gun, shooting towards those 2 students he had drawn at their desks. One of them appears to have a head wound, and the other one is yelling in horror. And then it shows his stick figure again with the word suicide and a smiley face written. He shows the stick figure shooting himself. We also found another notebook in that same room. It was a drawing of a rifle with what appears to be ammunition coming out of it, and then the word kids written past the ammunition.
And you indicated that they were found in Colt's bedroom, and then also Colt had a gaming room.
That's correct.
Was the gaming room his only? Is that like he would only be the person to go there?
Yes, that's what we understand. It was his gaming room with his computer in it.
So with those 2 rooms, were these writings hidden underneath the mattress, or were they just kind of out in the open?
They were out in the open. The letter specifically that he had written to his family was sitting on the computer desk in plain sight.
In addition to those,
So those were the letters he wrote that morning, probably as he was getting ready for school, dad was getting ready for work. When was the dad supposed to, or is the prosecution saying, parents, give your kids something to write on and then read it? Screw the integrity of the kids. Kids should have no secrets. And I mean, what's going on here, folks? Yes, in these circumstances, should he have violated Colt's privacy and read everything? Maybe. But that's hindsight. Can we really expect 100% of all parents to give their kids diaries? Kid, write down your deepest thoughts so I can read them. I mean, no.
Those writings that y'all found, did y'all find anything in the house that suggested Colt Gray had an interest in school shooters?
We did. In that same gaming room, we found GBI, when they executed the warrant, located what would be described as a shrine of sorts. There were multiple clippings from newspapers, pictures that have been printed off the internet of other shooters that have been involved in similar incidences.
And I'm going to show you, I have a picture of this shrine. Can you describe approximately how many
These
pictures
are excellent
in that
evidence
shrine,
in the
where
trial
they
against
were in the gaming room,
Excellent.
and who they are of?
There's
Against
approximately
the dad?
15 pictures. They were mounted with thumbtacks to the wall directly behind his computer desk. The pictures show newspaper article clippings labeled with the toll of students that
that's
had
weird.
died during the Parkland shooting, articles from Los Angeles Times and the New York Times showing the firearms that were located during that shooting incident, as well as students mourning the loss of their friends. There's also pictures of Nicholas Cruz from his court appearances, as well as other pictures of Nicholas Cruz leading up to the incident, him holding a firearm, an attack vest.
Okay, now we are getting into weird stuff, because it's one thing having stuff on the desk. If it was up or down, don't know. Or in a diary of sorts. But if it's nailed to the wall with thumbtacks behind the computer, yeah, that's strange.
And other school photos that were in his yearbook.
I'm kind of going to the interview that you conducted with Colin Gray. When did you conduct that interview?
I conducted it on the day of the incident, so September 4th.
Do you remember what time approximately? Was it closing time to when the search warrant?
It was at the exact same time the search warrant happened. I don't have the approximate time written down here. I want to say it was approximately 2:00 in the afternoon.
When you interviewed him, did you discuss with him the firearm that Colt used in the shooting?
I did not specifically discuss that firearm. I just discussed that a shooting had taken place. At that point, we didn't know all the details, so I didn't want to give him too much information.
And when you talked to him, did he tell you about the firearm that he had purchased for Colt that was used in the shooting?
He did. During our interview, he went into great detail describing the time he had spent with Colt, trying to get him involved in a hobby that he, as his father, enjoyed as well, which was shooting deer as well as shooting at the range. He discussed in detail why he had purchased that specific assault rifle as the Christmas gift for Colt. He discussed buying him a laser and a laser sight for the rifle. But he also stated that Colt had, for at least approximately a week, been keeping that firearm in his bedroom, specifically in the corner of the room near his guitar.
Okay,
And
that is information when me and Dave discussed this a few days ago regarding the access to the gun, and it seems like it was Colt's gun in his bedroom. leaned against the wall.
So did they practice shooting at all?
They did. They had gone to the range multiple times. We verified that. And they also had spent time the week before actually sighting in the new attachments for the rifle in the backyard of the residence.
In addition to discussing the firearm, did he mention that Colt used his computer routinely?
He did.
Did he describe Colt's friends?
He stated that he didn't have a lot of friends that he interacted with in real life. Most of his friends were individuals he had met electronically over the computer. And he wasn't even really able to tell me any specific friends that he had.
Did he ever look into Colt's computer or his friends on the computer to see what they were talking about or what they were doing?
No, he stated at that time that Colt had never given him a reason to need to go through his phone or computer.
Did he mention anything to you about the visit from the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, specifically about Colt talking on the computer?
He did. He mentioned that they had just come out to speak to his son about threats that had been made online, but it was very brief. He didn't go into any detail about what had been discussed during that conversation.
Did he give you any indication that he had tried to or wanted to get Colt into counseling?
Yes, he did say that.
And what did he say about that?
He specifically detailed the interactions he had had with Lisa Butler, the counselor at the high school, in reference to filling out the forms for the AWARE counseling. He stated that, he needed to sign the form, that they had sent him the form, that he had filled it out and he had sent it back. He also stated that there had been discussion about taking Colt to Advantage Behavioral Health in Athens, that it was a holiday weekend when they were supposed to be taking him and it never happened. He also stated that Colt was supposed to be attending counseling at the school, but as we know, Colt had skipped the days he was supposed to attend counseling. He hadn't even gone to school. So,
did he give any indication as to the reason why he had not gotten Colt into counseling before the school AWARE program came up?
Very briefly, he stated that there were some issues with his insurance as he had a newer job and he had waited for that insurance to come into effect. But otherwise, no, there were many attempts. He just never stated why he hadn't officially attended.
So previously in the timeline or in the search warrant, you had mentioned there was a shrine of Nicholas Cruz, the school shooter, on Colt.
No, that
Did
was
you
that was not what she said. These were picture. I mean, it's bad enough that they are thumbtacked to the wall behind the computer, but a shrine is something completely different.
Discuss with Colin whether or not he went into that gaming room of Colt's.
Yeah, I just point blank asked him if he went in the rooms that Colt occupied at the residence, if he had noticed anything on the walls. And he stated that he had noticed one specific picture of a male wearing glasses. I believe it would be the court picture of Nicholas Cruz. He stated that originally Colt had a picture of some rock-related individual hanging on the wall, but that picture had been taken down and the picture of Nicholas Cruz had been hung where that picture was on the wall. And he stated that he didn't know who that was. And when he brought it up to Colt, Colt basically said, "Dad, you really don't know who that is?" And he said, "No, son, I don't." The topic was dropped for a while. And then later that night, Colin asked Colt again who were the individuals hanging on his wall. And Colt explained that it was Nicholas Cruz, a previous school shooter. There wasn't any further discussion about that other than, why is he on your wall? And he just said he was. So.
Moving to the day of the shooting, did Colin provide a timeline of what he did that day?
He did.
Kind of go through what he said.
He said early that morning, the day kind of went as planned. He checked on his kids. He made sure that Colt was getting up and was going to school that morning because they had discussed how important it was for Colt to attend school because he needed to go to counseling and had skipped so many days. He left and took his youngest son to school as he normally did, Coley. And then Jenny, his daughter, and Colt were left at the house to get on the school bus as they did every morning. He then went to work after he dropped Coley off at school. Later that morning, he got those very concerning text messages from Colt that I previously touched on. He then spoke with Marcy, who had also received concerning text messages. He also received text messages from his daughter, Jenny, indicating that her school was on lockdown. He left work after receiving those concerning text messages, speaking to Jenny and Marcy, and went home. He stated that when he went home, he turned the news on in the den and was watching it and saw that the shooting had taken place at the high school by that point. He then went into Colt's room under the impression that all the weapons were secured in the residence, but then stated that he realized that the rifle that was Colt's was not sitting in the place inside Colt's bedroom where it had been previously. It was no longer in the corner of the room propped up against the guitar.
So did he admit to you that on the day of the shooting, Colt's gun was actually in Colt's bedroom?
Yes, he believed that that morning it was in the bedroom where it had been the whole week before. And then when he got home from work, it was no longer in Colt's bedroom.
Did you, I know, and I think we talked about this already, but you also interviewed Colt's mother, Marcy Gray.
I did.
Did she tell you anything about Colt's deteriorating mental state?
She did. She said that over the past year, his fascination with guns had gotten very bad. That was her wording. Specifically over the last few months. She said that he had also had a couple of physical altercations with his dad that were concerning to her. She specifically discussed that Colt had talked to her about the Columbine and Sandy Hook shootings. When he had talked to her about that, he would reference the school shootings, but then say, just kidding. Or he would make joking comments, as she described, about the school shootings. She also stated that Colt had asked his dad to buy him what he considered a shooter mask that was all black with just the eye holes cut out. And when she asked him why he needed that, he stated in a joking manner, "What? I've got to finish up my school shooter outfit. Just kidding." She also stated that Colt had had increased panic attacks, specifically over the last month.
Did she indicate whether or not she discussed this obsession with school shooting with Colin, the dad?
She stated that she and Colin and her mother had discussed his fascination with school shooters, but had all kind of determined that it was in a joking manner and or I interpreted them to mean not a serious thing.
Did you have an opportunity to watch the body camera when Byer County Sheriff's Office arrived at Mr. Gray's house the day of the shooting?
I did.
And was Mr. Gray present when law enforcement got there?
He was.
What did he say when law enforcement arrived?
In a not very surprised manner, he said he had just received some text messages from his little girl who was at the middle school about being in lockdown. And he said, "God Almighty, please tell me that your brother didn't do something." He said that out loud to the deputies on scene, as well as the other law enforcement that were arriving as residents. They asked him, "Why do you think that he would have done something?" And he stated that they were trying to get him into counseling. He didn't fit in at his high school. He had let him do some online schooling, and that they had brought him back to normal school this year. And he had been going okay. He said that he had reached out to the school and that they had stated they had counselors, that he had filled out some paperwork for that counseling for the school through a third party, for the counselors to get involved. And then he asked if he could use his phone.
Did, in that body camera when he was talking to you, did he appear to express any remorse about what had happened?
No, he did not.
Now, did you ultimately take out warrants against Colin Gray?
I did.
And how many did you take out?
I believe it was 13 total warrants.
What charges did you take out warrants for?
Felony murder in the second degree. I took out 2 of those. I took out 4 counts of felony involuntary manslaughter, and then 8 counts of felony cruelty to children in the second degree. The last 2.
Yeah, when did you do it? Was that done immediately, or because to my understanding, Colin, they took him into custody somewhere mid to late September last year.
Of those counts will be for mental anguish.
So as far as the probable cause for the second degree murder, can you tell the court what that was?
Yes. Colin Gray did cause the death of the victim, who was under the age of 18, by providing a firearm to Colt Gray, knowing that Colt was a threat to himself and others.
And that was 2 counts, because there were 2 students who were killed.
That's correct. So those are listed with those 2 separate students.
And as far as the 4 involuntary manslaughter charges, what was the probable cause for that?
That Colin Gray provided a firearm to Colt Gray with the knowledge that he was a threat to himself and others between those dates as well.
And those are for all 4 of the deceased individuals.
That's correct.
As far
Yeah, but in the charging document, the only date is September 4th. So what the charging warrants are for, is not what is stated in the actual charging from the prosecutor. That's interesting.
far as the 8 counts of cruelty to children in the second degree, what was your probable cause for that?
That he caused the victims cruel and excessive physical or mental anguish, as with the last 2, by providing a firearm to Colt Gray with the knowledge that he was a threat to himself and others on the date of the incident.
And were those
On the date. On the date. So they are really, really only focusing on September 4th, not prior to September 4th. Is that because they want to hinder evidence coming in that Colin actually was in preparations and trying to get his son into counseling through his insurance? I don't know.
I guess 8 children that went to the hospital
Yes.
and you indicated that 2 of them will be mental pain. Is that because they were not injured, they were at the hospital for anxiety attacks?
That's correct. And it was 14 total, not 13. I think I said 13 previously.
And as far as cruelty to children in second degree, is that based on criminal negligence as opposed to malicious intent?
That's correct.
And the involuntary manslaughter, is that based on reckless conduct, which is also a criminal negligence standard?
That's correct.
And then do you see Colin Gray children?
I do.
And can you identify him by a piece of clothing he's wearing?
He's wearing the orange and white jumpsuit sitting here to my left.
And one last question. You indicated that, I guess, one of Colin's children, the daughter, had texted him and said that her school was in lockdown. Did she go to a different school or did she go to Apalachee?
She went to a different school. She went to Hayman Morris Middle School.
I don't have any further questions.
Can I ask one question of you, Agent Ward? You testified that Mr. Gray got a text from Jenny that she was on lockdown, and then you said he left work. Do you know why he left work?
He stated during his interview that he was concerned because of those text messages from Jenny, as well as the text messages he had already received from Colt, stating that he was sorry and that it wasn't their fault. He had also gotten a call from Marcy stating she had received similar text messages from Colt, stating that he was sorry, that made him concerned and he felt that he needed to go home.
Okay, and to your knowledge, I think you testified, he left work and went home and turned on the TV.
That's correct.
So he went straight home from work, he went straight home.
That's what
and
he
then turned on
stated.
the TV.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Just checked something out, and between the Crumley trial and this September 4th, there were no school shootings in Georgia. So this was the first school shooting in Georgia after the trial against the Crumleys in Michigan. That's interesting. So instead of looking back on prior school shootings in Georgia, because after a while the heat dies off from a school shooting. That's just what happens. But here, boom, they picked up and charged Colt, and then a couple of weeks later, boom, Colin. So that would explain, was somebody just waiting for a school shooting to happen so that they could charge the parent? Because if they really wanted to charge somebody for a school shooting in Georgia, a parent to a school shooter, let's see here. Dun, dun, dun. Let's see here. Between 1966 to 2024 in Georgia, there has been 102 school shootings according to statistics. I'm trying to. Da, 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 da. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I can't find any, not immediately, any. They're saying, yeah, it's the mass shootings, but mass shootings is different from specific school shootings. Mass shootings is people firing a firearm in the general direction of many people. So that includes, drive-by shootings and stuff. So it seems to be hard to find actual statistics in specific. So, well, on the face of it, it seems like Georgia was more or less waiting for the next school shooting so they could test what happened in Michigan as well.
Mr. Byer?
Good morning, Agent Ward.
Good morning.
And Agent Ward, how long have you been working in law enforcement?
I'm going into my 9th year working into law enforcement, I believe.
Okay, and is that all in the same place, or have you moved around any?
It's not at the same place. I did almost 6 years at University of Georgia Police Department where I was on patrol. I left there as a corporal, and I was hired by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, where I've worked for almost 4 years.
Okay. And hired by Mr. Reynolds, Agent Reynolds?
Yes, it would have been,
Okay.
it would have been Mr. Reynolds at the time,
He was
yes.
my law partner for 13 years.
Okay.
I know him very well. You got involved in this case, I think you indicated to us, the morning of the shooting.
That's correct.
And were you instrumental in taking any warrants? I mean, not warrants, but search warrants?
No, I did not take any search warrants. I just
And-
took the arrest warrants.
Who did the search warrants?
The search warrants were taken by Special Agent John Genta. He's another agent at our field office in Athens.
All right. Now, you told us that that you were the agent who took the warrants themselves, and you just went over those.
Yeah, the arrest warrants for Colin.
And let me just be sure, the predicate acts for each of these counts that you have spoken with us about was cruelty in the second degree, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And that cruelty being, one, providing a weapon,
that's correct.
correct? And two, knowing that Colt might hurt himself or others.
That's correct.
Those are the two areas through each one of these warrants, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, you talked to us initially about when the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office went to the home of Mr. Gray.
Yes.
And I want to talk just a minute about that. As I understand, the FBI had some sort of a tip, and they notified then the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department. Is that correct?
The Jackson County Sheriff's Office, but
The
yes.
Jackson County. And then in response to that, the Sheriff's Department, I think two people went out to talk with Mr. Gray.
That's
Is that
correct.
correct? Now, was Mr. Gray ever shown any sort of evidence as to what this notification that they had, the FBI had?
Not based on the body cam footage that I reviewed.
Okay. And as a matter of fact, was it Officer Miller that was involved in asking most of the questions there that day?
Yeah, Investigator Dan Miller and Deputy Justin Elliott, but yes.
And as a matter of fact, Detective Miller talked to Colin and also talked to Colt.
He did?
And Colin was agreeable for them to look in the house, to talk with his son. Didn't have any problem, cooperated fully.
Yeah, I mean, he never told them that they could go in the house. They talked outside on the front patio, but he was agreeable.
Okay. And Detective Miller indicated when they left, as I understand, that he believed that Colt was not the one that was making any threats and didn't see a problem. Is that
He
correct?
stated that he would take Colt's words as they were.
Okay. And Agent or Detective Miller never followed up with Colin Gray. Is that correct? Never called him back.
No, I believe there was a phone call either the next day or the day after between the investigator and Colin. That was over the phone, though.
Okay. But after that, there was no communication.
Not that I'm aware.
Okay.
So everything about this so-called Discord thing might not even be linked to Colt other than a tip. In my opinion, that should be excluded as evidence at trial. Now, pre-trial they can talk about it, but regarding at trial, especially against the father, if it was, if officers at the time said it was nothing and told Colin it was nothing, how is he supposed to have known?
So at that interview, there was not an FBI agent there.
No, there was not.
And the way that it was left is everything's okay. I don't see a problem. They knew that there were guns in the home,
Correct.
and they never told Mr. Gray, you got to lock those guns up or you got to get rid of those guns. Is that correct?
Not on the body cam that I reviewed.
Okay. Nor in the telephone call, as you understand. Is that right?
Not that I'm aware.
Okay. Did any counselors or psychologists, psychiatrists, anybody who dealt with Colt Gray ever tell Colin Gray, don't have guns around the house?
I can't speak to that because I don't know every single conversation that he had, but in the things that I have personally reviewed, no.
Okay. Now, you talked a good bit about what Marcy
So the
said.
professionals
Correct.
never told, never gave
I did.
warnings regarding
And I assume you
keeping
interviewed
guns.
her mother.
I did.
And was this recorded?
It was.
The mother as well as Marcy.
That's correct.
And you were aware that Marcy had made threats to kill Colin and also kill Colt.
That was made aware to me.
Oh, really?
By Deborah's interview, her mother.
Okay.
So Marcy, who they basically rely on regarding information about what Colin should and shouldn't have known about Colt, is now I will make this determination, folks. With the knowledge that Marcy, mother of Colt, locked the kids out in November until 11 p.m., threatened to kill Colin and Colt. So you have here a mother that genuinely fucks the kids up. And then this officer knows about it or was made aware about it. And you charge Colin. That this doesn't make, well, it does make sense in one bit, is that they need Marcy to testify about these things at trial. This case is getting so it seems like Colin, because he had health insurance and everything, was protecting the kids against the mother. And I mean, why would he trust her on her words after she threatened to kill both him and the kids? Why would Colin trust Marcy? That there's no reason to trust this person who abused the children. This case doesn't make any sense with that knowledge, really.
I did not have any inclination of that prior to the interviews.
And do you know approximately when that is that she made these threats to kill both of them?
It was approximately 6 months to a year prior. I don't have the specific date in front of me.
Okay. Did you get any information that bothered Colt a lot, that his mother threatened to kill him?
According to Deborah Polhamus, it did bother him mentally that his mother would have made those threats.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge about the fact that Marcy Gray moved back into the house at some point prior to this shooting?
Are you talking about the house in Barrow County?
Mm-hmm.
I know that she had frequented that house. I would not say she specifically moved back in. She had been there quite a few times that I'm aware of.
Do you know whether she may have stayed there for approximately a week before she was asked to leave?
I can't speak on how many days specifically, no.
Do Did you have an opportunity to interview Colt?
I did not interview Colt, no.
Okay, did anybody interview Colt?
Yes, he was interviewed.
Okay. And I'm sure that interview was recorded.
I can't speak to that because I wasn't there, but
Right.
yes, I'm quite positive it was.
Okay. And can you tell me who else you interviewed in relation to this case?
I've interviewed multiple people in relation to this case, so that would be a long
Just
list.
if you remember, I know maybe might not have remembered
Specifically, it
everybody.
was family members of the Gray. So I interviewed Colin, I interviewed Marcy, I interviewed Deborah Polhamus, the grandmother. I interviewed Colt's aunt, Annie Brown. And then I've also done some other interviews.
Did you get the information from Mike's gun room about the date that this gun was purchased?
Yes, I did.
And that was November the 17th of 2023.
It was.
And I think you indicated that it was an automatic rifle. Do you know whether it was an automatic or semi-automatic?
It was an AR-15 style weapon.
So you don't know.
Check. Wait 1 second. I just know.
Lady, you sit there and you don't know the difference between an automatic and a semi-automatic. You call it an AR-15 style when it was a Sig Sauer. All right, I think we have the origin of these ridiculous charges. It's that lady. You're a law enforcement officer, lady, for going on 9 years, and you don't know the difference between an automatic and semi-automatic? You who are the one who took out the arrest warrants? Jesus fucking Christ. You sit there with all the information that the mother is the one who fucked up her former husband, threatened to kill the kids, and you blame the dad? You hack! You absolute... Oh, for fuck's sake.
No, it was a Sig Sauer. I'm not going to speak to whether it was semi or auto, but I don't have that in front of me.
You mentioned that that was an automatic. I didn't know whether you had the paperwork there showing.
And it was an AR-15, so an automatic rifle 15. I mean, that's what it's called.
That... Oh, for fuck's sake. Are you kidding me? Lady. AR does not mean automatic rifle. You moron. Say it with me. It is an Armalite rifle. AR-15. It's not an assault rifle. It's not an automatic rifle. It is the brand name. Armalite rifle. Oh, for fuck's sake. No. So you think just because it's an AR, it's automatic? Because you think the A in AR means automatic rifle? And you're in law enforcement? For fuck's sake. Jesus Christ. The Sig Sauer M400 is a semi-automatic rifle. It is a hunting rifle. Now, does it look somewhat like an AR-15? Yeah. Oh, Dave. This lady here, Lady Cop, she is the one who wrote all the arrest warrants for all the charges against Colin. She thinks AR means automatic rifle. So in her testimony here before the judge in this preliminary hearing, she claims it was an automatic rifle because it looks like an AR. And if it looks like an AR, it has to be an automatic. The previous cop we listened to, it's a semi-automatic. Oh. Yeah. Say it with me, folks. AR Armalite rifle. The brand name. It's not assault rifle. It's not automatic rifle. Armalite. And this woman here has been in law enforcement for 9 years and don't know the difference. She thinks an automatic. I mean, seriously. For fuck's sake. At this hearing was in. Hold on. This hearing was in October 16th. So a month and a half later. And she thinks it was an automatic rifle. Interesting. Says, when do we think this trial is going to happen? It is scheduled for September of this year. Jesus.
Did you obtain Marcy's telephone to do any search of the telephone for any of these texts that she said that she had received?
I did not specifically download her phone, so I did not specifically do that.
Oh,
I know
really?
it was downloaded by law enforcement.
It was downloaded?
From what I understand, yes.
Okay, and who would have done that, if you know?
One of our law enforcement partners.
And that information would also be turned over to the district attorney's office?
Yes, it will be turned over to the district attorney's office.
Will be. All right, that was part 3. Oh, for fuck's sake. Here's part 4.
I'm sure you got the information about Marcy tying up her mother and leaving her there for quite some time.
What?
The time she made this threat to kill Colt and Colin.
Yes, I have been informed of that information.
So, in order to get all of these charges about what Colin should and shouldn't have known, you rely on the information of a woman who locked the kids outside in November in the Appalachians until 11 p.m., who threatens to kill Colt and Colin and abuses her own mother. That's your key to this case. Oh, for fuck's sake. Hi, Derek. Was the dad in the house when the son took the... It was the son's gun. The gun was in his bedroom. So he had control over it. Colin bought the gun for him in... as a Christmas gift, winter of 2023. They have similar hobbies they both enjoyed, which was hunting. So everything about that gun is it's a hunting rifle. The ammo is hunting ammunition. The laser scope is hunting accessories. The tactical vest is one of these with pockets. But yeah, Colin is in jail for this. And the mother will probably be used as a witness against Colin. Marcy Gray. So, as Dave speculated at the last stream, that the mother fucked the kids up and they are charging the dad. who tried to get the kids straight and happy again. Oh, wait a minute. Where are the other kids? Where are the two? Don't tell me the two other kids is in the hands of the mother. Oh, she's going to fuck them up. Oh, Jesus Christ. What a... Oh.
Okay. And had the mother been banned from Barrow County?
When you say the mother, you're talking about Marcy. Not banned. She had a warrant out of Barrow County for specific reasons.
Yeah, so she avoided the county because she had a warrant on her. And that's the witness you're going to rely on regarding what Colin might and might not have known?
The paperwork that Colin Gray had completed for counseling with Ms. Butler. Does anybody have that paperwork? Has that been located?
Yes, we have it.
You have it?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it with Ms. Butler?
Yes, she was involved in the email chain. There was multiple people involved in that email chain.
Okay. So the paperwork had been filled out and had been sent to Ms. Butler.
That's correct.
I'm flabbergasted.
Do you know whether Colt had gone to school for the 8th grade? You know, he completed the 8th grade or didn't complete the 8th grade?
I haven't specifically looked at school records. I've obtained information in my interviews, but I'm not going to speak to the exact attendance or not attendance that he did because I don't have it in front of me.
And do you know during the time that he would have been in the 8th grade, he was living with his mother part of that time down in Fitzgerald?
I do know that he had lived in Fitzgerald for some time, but I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah, that was Jesus Christ. So the year Colt skipped school, and he actually, to my knowledge now, didn't finish 8th grade, or more or less didn't even attend. It's the time where he was living with the mother. Yeah, folks, this seems to be a case where the mother is a complete maniac who should never be allowed near children in any way, shape, or forms. She fucks up her own kids to the level that Colt has a mental instability and becomes a school shooter. And they shot the dad who tries to get the kids all right again. For fuck's sake.
The exact months he lived down there.
Okay. Did Miss Butler indicate to you when you had a conversation with her why Colt was put in the 9th grade if he did not complete the 8th grade?
I didn't speak to Miss Butler, so I did not get that information from her.
I could just have 1 second, Judge.
Okay, this case is going to piss me off, folks. It's going to royally piss me off.
One thing that I forgot to ask, did you get any information or interview anybody from DFACS about any prior intervention?
I have spoken to DFACS supervisors. I have not conducted an interview with any of the actual DFACS caseworkers that would have been assigned to the Gray family.
And I assume at this time this is still an ongoing investigation.
It is an ongoing.
Yeah, no wonder when the mother is batshit crazy. Of course, the children's safety, whatever it is involved. Hi there. What's she on the stand for? Well, she is the arresting officer, so she's there to testify at this preliminary hearing. This preliminary hearing was conducted in, Jesus Christ, when was it now again? October 16th of last year. Jesus Christ.
Investigation, that is correct.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Can you redirect?
Number the date on it.
So if you wonder, why does the attorney always ask, did you do this? No, who did? And they have given it to the prosecution's office. That is just, okay, what information is actually out there? And will it be turned over by the prosecution? What can we ask of from the prosecution regarding discovery? So this is not only interviewing this this cop, it's also trying to find out what evidence is still out there that they need to get a hold of as defense attorneys. No, now I'm starting to realize why the prosecution in their charging documents only put September 4th in there, because as soon as they go back in time, everything the mother did to fuck the kids up will be in the trial. I wouldn't be surprised if there is or will be a motion in limine regarding the mother's past from the prosecution. I don't know yet. I will try to find out.
You can step in. You're gonna call more witnesses. One more. I'm gonna take the so we'll come back at 10:20.
Okay. And then there's a break. Okay.
Jason Smith to the stand. Could raise your right hand, please. Swear the testimony given, the matter now pending for this court with the truth, the whole truth, and the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, if you could introduce, have a seat. If you could introduce yourself for the courts.
My name is Investigator Jason Smith. I'm an investigator with the Barrow County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, and were you an investigator back on September 4th of this year when the shooting happened in Apalachee High School?
Yes, sir, I was.
Okay, and what are your duties at the Sheriff's Office?
I'm assigned to the Criminal Investigations Division. We work crimes against persons that can range from child molestation, murder, shootings.
Okay. And were you involved in the investigation of the shooting in Apalachee High School?
Yes, sir, I was.
I want to take your attention to a very specific part. Did you have a chance to interview Colin Gray?
Yes, sir, I did.
Tell us when that was.
That was on the 5th, September the 5th.
So the day after.
Correct.
To your knowledge, had he already been interviewed by the GBI?
Yes, sir, he had given one previous interview.
And when was that?
I believe that was on September the 4th.
And when you came into you, was your interview recorded?
Yes, sir, it was.
Okay. And about how long did you talk?
It was a few hours.
Okay. And during that interview, did he talk to you about who had custody of Colt at the time of the shooting?
Yes, sir.
And who was that?
That was himself.
Okay. And did he talk to you about the guns that Colt used in the shooting and how he acquired those?
Yes, sir, he did.
Tell us about that.
Colin told me that he had purchased the firearm for Colt as a Christmas gift the previous year.
Okay. And did he say anything about the clips that held the ammunition for the guns?
Yes, sir. He mentioned that at least on one occasion that Colt had asked him for a larger magazine I believe the original magazine came with 20, capable of holding 20 rounds, and he had asked for a larger magazine.
And then Mr. Colin Gray acquiesced to that request and gave him
Yes, he said he did.
Did he ask to also talk about any other accessories to the firearm that Colt asked for?
He did. He mentioned some odds and ends. One that kind of jumps out to me is a bore sight, a laser bore sight to sight in the rifle. But he mentioned other things that he had gotten for the rifle as well.
Okay. And did he get the things that Colt asked for?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did he ever talk about going with Colt to practice shooting the firearm?
He did.
Okay. And where was that at?
I believe one of them was Big Laser. There was a second one. I don't remember the name of that one right now.
Okay. And the ammunition that was for this gun, who purchased the ammunition?
Mr. Colin Gray.
Okay. And where was it stored when it was at the house?
So during our interview, Colin Gray mentioned that the ammunition was stored in a green box. And through the GBI search warrant, I was later informed that the green box that Mr. Colin Gray was referring to was actually located in Colt Gray's bedroom.
Okay. And did he talk to you about Colt being violent?
Yes, sir, he did.
And tell us about that.
Colin Gray stated that that Colt's behavior had become more aggressive over the past few months, and he detailed at least 2 occasions where.
Yeah, after what the mother did to the kids, I'm not surprised that Colt had anger issues.
Colt had become physical with him, that he had punched him, he had kicked him. On one of those occasions, he had also thrown a screwdriver at him. He also mentioned that Colt had done some various damage to a door in the household that was close to his sister's bedroom.
And this was all in the few months before the shooting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And had he ever been violent with his mother?
He had. There was an incident, I believe, a week or 2 prior to this that Mr. Colin Gray shared with me that Colt had got into some type of altercation, verbal altercation one night with his mother, who was in front of his bedroom, and he had ultimately shoved his mother into a wall or doorway directly across from Colt's bedroom.
Okay. And this, you said a week or so before this being the shooting?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. And because of that, was there a discussion between Colin Gray and Marcy Gray about removing the guns from Colt's
Yes,
access?
there was.
And
According to who?
were those guns ever removed from Colt's access?
Not that I'm aware of, no, sir.
I want to know who said there was this discussion. If it was
Did
Marcy,
he talk to you about
I don't care.
Colin's mental health issues?
He did.
Excuse me, about Colt's mental health issues.
Yes, sir. He did. He mentioned that that the family had been trying to get him help, that Marcy and he had talked about getting Colt help at Advantage Behavioral Health, that they had discussed having him perform some inpatient treatment.
Did they ever go to that?
No, sir.
Okay. And did he say anything about Colt asking to be placed in a mental asylum?
That, I believe that came from Marcy. That was discussed between Colt and Marcy.
Okay. And did Marcy relay that to Colin?
Marcy said she did, yes. And,
Did you ever talk about Colt harming himself?
we did. After I showed Mr. Colin Gray a photograph of some injuries that I observed to Colt's left arm, Mr. Gray admitted he had knowledge of those injuries and stated about a year ago, give or take, some few months ago, that Colt had used his knife or a knife that was in Colt's possession to cut himself.
Okay. And you saw wounds on Colt at the time of the shooting,
I did, yes, sir.
consistent with cutting himself?
Yes, sir.
Just say
Cuts or scars?
nothing further, Your Honor.
Good morning, Investigator Smith.
Morning, sir.
Just have a few questions for you. I was a little unclear. You were talking about this green box that the ammo was kept in.
Yes, sir.
That was kept in Colin Gray's room, correct?
Colt Gray's room.
Okay, so Colt kept it in his room?
So Mr. Colin Gray stated that he kept the ammo in a green box in his closet.
Mhm.
And during a search of the household, the only green box that was located containing somewhat of ammunition was found in Colt Gray's bedroom.
Okay, so, but Colin told you it normally stayed in his room.
That's what Colin said. Yes,
But
sir.
what happened was that supposedly that Colt moved it, that got it out of his father's room and took it to his room.
Well, Colin Gray did not mention anything about him moving it. He just said that the box was normally kept in his bedroom.
Okay, but that it was not there when he got back to the house. It was in Colt's room, correct?
We didn't discuss where the box was when he got back to the house.
Okay. And you indicated that Marcy had made a statement about Colt saying he needed to be in an asylum. Did you interview Marcy?
I did.
And when did you do that?
I would have to go back and look at my notes. I don't have that date specifically offhand right now.
Okay. Who else did you interview other than Marcy?
I interviewed Colin Gray. I interviewed Colt Gray. I interviewed Marcy Gray. I interviewed Debbie Polhamus. And then there was an aunt by the name of Annie Polhamus. I believe she goes by Annie Brown as well.
Okay. Did you take Marcy's telephone and have it inspected?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And has that been completed?
I have not entirely gone through it. I've gone through a majority of it, but not entirely.
Okay. And that information will be given to the district attorney's office?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
And were you involved in the taking of any search warrants in this case?
I did not author any search warrants. No, sir.
And I'm sure you did a background check of Marcy Gray. That'd be fair to say?
I did not run her criminal history. No, sir.
Okay. So you don't have any idea what her criminal history is?
I've heard that she has a criminal history. As far as exactly what that is, I don't know.
Okay. And so when you interviewed her, you did not know what her background was from the standpoint of any criminal history. That'd be fair to say?
Not entirely, no, sir.
Okay. And
I don't know what the warrant of her is, or what, but if it has anything to do with the kids, yeah, they had, as interesting says here. So you have no, this officer has no idea how reliable a witness she is. Why wouldn't you check that out?
did you ask her mother, Debbie, anything about her criminal background, about her daughter's criminal background?
We did discuss an incident that occurred in Fitzgerald, Georgia.
And that's when she was tied up?
Yes, sir.
And you were also aware, I assume when you talked to Marcy, that she had made a threat to kill Colt and Colin.
Yes, sir. I had heard that.
Okay. And did you ask her about that when you interviewed her?
We did talk about the incident, yes, sir.
And that will be reflected on the video.
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Any other witnesses from the
There.
prosecution?
Your Honor.
Any witnesses from the defense?
We have no witnesses, Judge, and we'll submit.
Okay, any argument?
Just basically,
We're
Your
going
Honor.
to submit it, Judge. No reason to argue.
Mr. Smith, did you have anything?
I was just going to explain the charges, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Before involuntary manslaughter, in the commission of an unlawful act to cause the death of another human being. Four human beings have been stated in the warrants, Your Honor. And the unlawful act that we're alleging is the reckless conduct.
Yeah, all of that, all of those arrest warrants from a lady who thinks that Colt used an automatic rifle when it was semi-automatic, from this cop who believes AR means automatic rifle, not Armalite rifle. Yeah, this case is pissing me off. You have the mother who is clearly abusing the children, who is abusing her own mother, who fucks up the entire family to the point where Colt has self-ending thoughts, as it seems, and eventually became a school shooter. And Colin, who seems to be the guy who just tried to do the right thing by having hobbies with his kid, he is the one charged. He is the one in jail, while the prosecution is using the mother, the child abuser, the abuser of elder. That's their base. More or less, that's the base of their case against Colin. Because without the information from Marcy Gray, all they have is a dad trying to help his kid. Yeah, this is royally pissing me off now. Wow. All right, there are more hearings on this, but we've been at it for 2.5 hours. In an hour and a half, I will be joining the others on laid back law. We are going to talk about the Karen Reed case and the verdict that came down earlier this week. And I also saw that one of the things up for discussion is the Alberts and McCabe have made an interview. And I have one thing to say about that. Anything they say can and will be used against them in a court of law. All right, folks. I will be covering this case more going forward. I believe we have one more hearing, maybe 2 more hearings to get through. But that won't. Maybe I will do one next week and one the week after that. Other than that, it's going to be a lot about the Delphi case going forward on this channel, because we are trying to get the Karen Reed crowd interested in the Delphi case and the wrongful, in my opinion, wrongful conviction of Rick Allen. And as you know, later today, we have the fundraiser for the transcripts of the Delphi trial transcripts. And we will have Andrea Burkhart. We have Bob from Defense Diaries. We have Mo in the Deep End. We have Sean, potentially criminal. Hella from Excited Utterance. We also have Therese from Criminality. And R&M Productions will join us on that stream. That is at 5 p.m. today. I'm going to send you over, you who watches this on YouTube. I'm going to send you over to that fundraising stream so you can press all the buttons to make sure you come in the beginning of that stream, because it's going to be an amazing stream. But yeah, I'm going to cover this case going forward. The Georgia versus Colin Gray, the father of school shooter Colt Gray. All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for allowing me to do this. Thank you to FMM 2.0 for your super chat. Says going to sponsor a spin or two. Yes, on my fundraisers. Usually I have if every $100 to the fundraiser and $25 to me, and I will spin the wheel. The wheel of regrets. So yeah, that is coming up at 5 p.m. But before that, at noon today, Laid Back Law with it's me, Sean. It's it's the usual suspects. All right, everybody. Thank you again, and I will see you in about an hour and 20 minutes over at Laid Back Law and at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the fundraising stream. Thank you again. You all have a good one, and I will see you in a bit. Bye-bye.